As part of We the People, celebrating 250 years, here's This Day in History.
The countdown continues to America's birthday, 250th birthday next summer. So we are sharing our We the People series. People, places, and things of the past that have shaped our country into what it is today. And we got a good one today, Charlie.
Yeah, 25th of November back in 1863, the iconic phrase, "On Wisconsin," was born on a battlefield during the Civil War. On that day, Wisconsin's 24th Volunteer Infantry Regiment was part of a battle of Missionary Ridge in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Along with other Union Army soldiers, the unit was met with Confederate soldiers guarding the hill at Missionary Ridge. The Confederates shot down many Union members, but that did not stop 18-year-old Lieutenant Arthur Macarthur Jr., great name. He grabbed the Wisconsin state flag and shouted, "On Wisconsin," as he rushed up the hill in an attempt to rally his troops. MacArthur's actions helped break the Confederate line, and Missionary Ridge became a strategic location for the Union. He was awarded the Medal of Honor for his bravery. The cry "On Wisconsin" also became the basis for the now famous UW fight song, which was composed in 1909 by William Purdy. Arthur Macarthur Jr. was also the father of Douglas MacArthur, the famous five-star general during World War II. That's This Day in History, November 25th.
I love that that's the backstory behind it, that moment of just bravery from that guy. Arthur Macarthur.
Arthur Macarthur, father of Douglas MacArthur. Who knew?
Pretty cool. Thanks, Charlie.
Yep.